The 2024 NFL Draft, it's right around the corner. The wide receiver class, it is as deep and talented as we've seen. The top 5 wide receivers, by the way, could all go in the first round. We could see as many as 6 or 7 that go in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. Today, we're going to talk about that here on Football Scout 365's after further review. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you to check out the Football Scout 365 website, where you can find our NFL Draft Big Board, top 100 player rankings, which includes all of the scouting reports, player comparisons, and so much more. Again, that's our website, footballscout365.com. And when you're done watching this video, go check out some of the individual player analysis videos. I've got several top quarterbacks already with individual videos, running backs and wide receivers included. Again, go check that out on our channel when you're done with this video and let us know what you think. Now, in terms of the depth of this wide receiver draft class, I've got 21 wide receivers just in the top 100 big board rankings that you can go check out on our website. Full scouting reports for every single one of those players. Now, if you go back to just 1 week ago at the Reese's Senior Bowl, you could see that there was a lot of top talent just in that game alone. You had Ladd McConkey, who was stepping up and standing out, increasing his draft stock a week ago. Roman Wilson was balling out. Malachi Corley. These are guys who participated in a combine style event, got to put some one-on-one reps, practice reps on tape for NFL scouts to look at. And now they're starting to gain a lot of buzz. When you can get a bump like that, just in the media alone, getting your name out there, getting people talking about you, that can help you so much more. And a guy like Ladd McConkey, for example, who was probably a 2nd round pick, maybe a 3rd round pick, starting to get buzz as a late 1st rounder, that's big time. Then you're hearing a name like Roman Wilson from Michigan, who wasn't even being talked about. We talked about him here on the channel. I got an individual analysis video you can go check out right now where I talk about his potential as, a late 1st round pick. And Ricky Pearsall from Florida, another name that was out there balling out as well. So the depth of this wide receiver draft class, 21 players in my top 100 big board rankings. And today we're going to talk about the top 5, and I'll talk about the top 10 in depth in a full article on our website, Football Scout 365, that coincides with this video as well. So you can go check that out. That should be up. If you're watching this video, you should be able to go to our website and find that. So let's start with the number 1 receiver on the NFL Draft Big Board, and that is Ohio State wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. So it's not a huge surprise, Marvin Harrison Jr. being the number 1 wide receiver. He's the number 1 wide receiver on almost everyone's big board, but there's some significance to Marvin Harrison Jr. in regards to our big board because he is the number 1 overall prospect on our board. He is the can't miss guy. There's a couple of guys that I actually feel that way about in this particular NFL draft, but in terms of wide receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., he absolutely fits that mold of can't miss NFL draft prospect. He's got the pedigree, the son of a former NFL Hall of Famer, as most people already know. This dude, he's had an impressive progression in his time at Ohio State. He played under an elite wide receiver coach in Brian Hartline. So the technical aspects of the wide receiver position, he's being taught those types of things at Ohio State. Ohio State is known or has been known for that aspect of things when it comes to their wide receivers. And that's why they end up getting some of the best wide receiver talent in the country year in and year out. 5-star recruit after 5-star recruit at Ohio State has a lot to do with the coaching staff in general. Now, in terms of NFL draft projections, Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously he's always been a projected 1st rounder, probably since he walked onto the field at Ohio State for the very first time. People said, yep, that's a 1st round NFL draft prospect. Now, how high he would go would be dependent on what he shows on the field in game. And he elevated himself to the top wide receiver prospect in the 2024 NFL draft class. He could have been the top wide receiver prospect in last year's NFL draft class. Teams that he's consistently being projected to, I see the Cardinals and the Patriots. I feel like the Chicago Bears would be an excellent fit if they were going to keep Justin Fields. Just trade back a spot or 2, wait it out for a pick or 2, draft Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Bears. Why not, right? I already did a mock draft that did that, where they traded back, picked up a bunch of draft capital, kept Justin Fields, and added Marvin Harrison Jr. to the mix. But enough about that. Let's move on to the number 2 wide receiver in this draft class. And there's a lot of people out there that have this guy as their number 1 wide receiver in this draft class, ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know if I would necessarily do that, but he's definitely a playmaking wide receiver, and that is Malik Nabers out of LSU. He's a very adaptable wide receiver in terms of overall versatility and scheme versatility. He had an elite receiver grade according to PFF this year, which is another data point to pay attention to. He graded out elite in terms of our draft grading system. Now, in terms of NFL draft projections, he's projected to go in the first round. Obviously, he's a top 5 projected NFL draft pick. And teams that I'm seeing him consistently being drafted to in mock drafts are the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, and the Los Angeles Chargers. So we'll kind of see how it plays out. I think he just fits in anywhere. He's one of those players that you just put him on any roster and he's going to make the offense better. The number 3 wide receiver prospect on our draft board is Odunze out of Washington. He is an instant impact player, just like the previous 2. This guy is a contested catch savant. The back shoulder catch is his specialty. The chemistry between him and Michael Penix Jr. was excellent this year at Washington. This guy is a downfield threat as well. He can make contested catches down the field. He can make contested catches at the intermediate and short level. You have to play this guy really, really physical if you're going to defeat him. And that's what I love about his game. He's that big-bodied receiver that you want at the NFL level and what NFL teams desperately need more of at the NFL level. I think Odunze is an excellent NFL draft prospect. Definitely deserving of potentially even a top 5 pick. He's definitely going to go in the top 10 of the NFL draft. The projected average among all the consensus big boards out there shows him at 7th or 8th overall in the NFL draft. In teams that he's currently being mocked to consistently, the Chicago Bears, the Arizona Cardinals, and the New York Giants. All 3 of those teams would be absolutely lucky to have Odunze at wide receiver. Now, the number 4 wide receiver on our big board is Keon Coleman out of Florida State. I love this guy, okay? He was making plays at Michigan State even without consistent quarterback play. And then he gets to Florida State, gets consistent quarterback play, and then he starts to show out in bigger ways. He's making huge plays in key moments. I remember the Clemson game this past year. He was making big time plays in key moments. He didn't put up the numbers that some of the other receivers put up this year, some of the top flight receivers that everybody's talking about. There's a lot of people that put guys ahead of him due to his lack of production, but the route running is good for a guy his size. The agility for a player his size, this guy was returning punts at Florida State. The agility as a punt returner, and even after the catch as a wide receiver for a big-bodied X-type receiver. I just talked about it, the need in the NFL for the big-bodied receivers. This draft class is offering up several guys that could change that whole dynamic a little bit. Now, in terms of draft projections out there, the consensus, he's a first-round pick. The consensus overall pick number that you see him averaging around the 23rd pick overall in the NFL draft, I believe he's a top 15 prospect overall. So if you get him beyond the top 15, you're getting an absolute steal at the wide receiver position. Now, teams that he's being heavily mocked to currently, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Denver Broncos, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. All 3 of those teams could definitely use his services. I think the Jaguars could use him the most. At the end of the day, I had the Miami Dolphins in one of my mock drafts, getting Keon Coleman to pair with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Now, the number 5 wide receiver on the Football Scout 365 NFL Draft Big Board is a guy who continues to keep ascending. A lot of people aren't talking enough about this guy, and that is Brian Thomas out of LSU. Thomas, he exhibited great growth in his time at LSU. We have him graded as a high-level potential NFL player. He had almost 1,200 yards while paired with Malik Nabers, who had an elite season of over 1,500 yards. He had 68 catches on the year. He had 17 touchdown catches. His red zone ability is where he really stood out at the wide receiver position. Again, another big-bodied receiver in our top 5. Now, in terms of his draft projections, he's in the first round. He is consistently being picked around pick 20, pick 21 in most of the mock drafts out there. In teams that he's being mocked to, I've seen the Bengals, the Bills, the Cowboys, and the Miami Dolphins as well. So all of those teams, once again, could take him. The Bengals, for example, if they lose T. Higgins to free agency or whatnot, this would be a tremendous pickup for them. They could reset with a rookie contract at the wide receiver position because they're going to be paying Joe Burrow, obviously. All right, that's going to do it for the wide receiver rankings. Again, like I said, I should have 10 players listed on our website in depth, very similar analysis to what I just went over. So go check that out. Footballscout365.com is the website. Should be right on the front page. You'll be able to access it right there. A quick read. It's free. We don't charge anything. So far, we're not charging anything. Maybe in the future that could change for certain content, but this kind of content, I probably will never charge you for. So definitely go check it out. Continue to keep supporting the channel. We continue to keep growing. I love when people are interacting with the channel. I'll always try to respond to you. Again, I appreciate the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more great NFL draft content.